Yo, it's mounted. So it's a pretty difficult time right now, as everybody's imagining. I know that I've had quite a few people that I know personally that have lost their job, lost everything, who are struggling, who have no idea what tomorrow holds, and right now I feel that's terrifying. It's terrifying for a lot of people. My doctor labeled me as high risk, so I'm fortunate enough to be able to work from home, but I know a lot of people right now aren't. So if you're struggling, I feel you. If you need anything, always let me know. I don't mean to start this off in such a somber start, but it's kind of a weird time, and I want people to take it serious. So if you've been following my channel for a while, you know back in the early days I used to take things pretty seriously. I used to be real with camera and really talk about real stuff, and then I kind of stopped that because, I don't know, I felt like I was too much for my early audience. So this is back to being real for just a brief moment, just to get your attention and say that I'm with you guys. I had a bit of a down part with my YouTube channel there for about a week while this is really setting in, and I was being isolated, and it started hitting home. It's definitely a weird time for me because I had so many plans and so many travel events to go to that have all been postponed and canceled, so I've had to readjust basically everything in my lineup. I really didn't think much of it. I just kind of thought, well, I'll just have to think about it, and I kept thinking about it, and a week went by without a video, and then it kind of hit me that right now is when YouTube needs us the most. It needs the creators. It needs people that want to make videos. And one of my strong suits is being able to work in my garage and do videos for you all, because a lot of people rely heavily on traveling and shooting and collaborations, but fortunately my channel has just been me. I built it. I've done a lot of just me stuff. So I feel comfortable that I can keep on going just fine, and that's why I decided to pull the wagon in and start working on some stuff. So I won't go on much longer with this kind of dark lit dramatic thing. I just wanted to talk for a second and let you guys know that I'm taking this seriously, and I'm here with you guys. So one quick request: if you're still watching, all three people that are still watching at this point who haven't skipped this, let me know where you're at, where you're studying. Like, I know a lot of my YouTube subscribers, I know a lot of my fans that have talked in my comments a lot. I want to know where you're at. I want to see like where across the world you guys are at right now. Even if you've never commented on one of my videos before, just leave a comment below saying where you're at and how you're holding up and what it means to you, what you're doing right now to pass the time. Even if a story of like if you've been laid off, if you're had to change work or whatever, just comment below. I try to comment back to everybody who comments to my videos. People that have been commenting on my stuff for a while, I've seen that, they know me, they know that I'm immediately on there to talk back to you guys, because I feel like if you're putting your time of day in to leave a comment on my video, that I can easily put my time of day in to respond back and say something nice back, because that's I owe you guys that. So anyway, without further ado, back to wagon stuff. Alright, now that a serious talk is over with, take this dramatic light off, put the work lights back on. Hey, welcome back to the channel. That's not how I start stuff. Hey guys, welcome back. Just forgot this dramatic light. Hey, there we go. With this extra allotted downtime we've been granted, I decided it might be a good time to start pulling apart the wagon a little bit. As you saw in the last video, yeah, the whole ramping thing there, I was really excited about how the wagon performed. I loved it. It did so well. But I wanted to go ahead, take all the wheels off, get it off the ground, do a cursory check, make sure everything's still good underneath. It's part of my testing process, and testing will take you down some streets. Like I went down Eaton Street, obviously. So with that testing complete, I just want to make sure that everything's still good, because it took some good whacks. Mainly, I noticed immediately that bracket down there that I trimmed up is pushed back, like where the radiator is actually tied into. So that gave me an idea for a project for the front to kind of shore it up and tighten it up a little bit. Is go ahead and cutting here and all the way off here straight down, and removing all this. Take these power steering cooling lines off, and actually build my own kind of bumper support right there. It'll actually tie in from those two, from the where the factory tow hook locations are. It won't be really a supporting feature as much as the traction bar would be, so it'll allow me to still tie in and bring in some bracing in here. And also, putting that there, I can run some crossbars up higher. That way it kind of ties the top end apart from shifting so much on flex and going off-road. So one thing I'm thinking about using is this 2x2 square. It's a pretty thin wall, but you know, it's still light, still super strong because it's steel. But it'll give me a place where I can drop brackets down to mount the radiator to the bottom of it. I can actually lower the radiator a little bit because that'll let me adjust it. I can push it back a little bit. But I notice a lot of times when off-roading this thing, this is the first thing that sees contact from dirt and everything else. That's why this got pushed back in the last off-road video. So trimming that up will give me a little bit better approach angle. I did start trimming this up a little bit because I started mocking up some intercooler piping. Trying to make sure that 2.5 would fit in there. Looking around at it, I am going to start mocking up the Supercharger a little bit more. I don't know. I've got a lot of plans. I've got a lot of things I want to be able to do. That's why this video is going to be a little bit longer, but it's, what else are we going to do? We're going to sit here and watch YouTube videos and talk about the wagon. You guys like the wagon. I love the wagon, so welcome to a long YouTube video of me just messing with the wagon. I went ahead and got everything pulled off here, and I kind of wanted to go over something I started in another video, but I really didn't finish it. And I actually didn't put it in the last video because it was kind of a short meh clip. But I painted these rockers in a rust prevention kind of black. It's kind of hard to see in that light, but you can probably see them a little bit better in the other videos and some of the other pictures I took. So what I'm thinking is, now that I kind of have this shaped like I needed to be for the 30s, I don't think there's any more clearance. There's a couple little rubs like right here on this wall here, like on a very high angle, that I may have to massage out just a little bit more. You can see it's still pretty shiny there. But for the most part, I can go ahead and black this whole inner fender area to kind of rust proof some of this stuff. You can see a little bit of surface rust starting in some of these places. Yeah, it's more here even where it was rubbing before. And being down here in the south, there's not a whole lot of rust, so thank goodness for that, because this would be a lot worse. I'm going to go ahead and do that to all 4 fender wells. I kind of gave it a cursory glance, kind of like I talked about earlier. Everything seems to be doing pretty well. Nothing crazy loose. The wheel bearing on the passenger side is going to need to be changed for too long, because I know I installed that incorrect and it wobbles. This one, of course, doesn't wobble because it's still pretty good. Another project I thought about why I had all this apart. These are new calipers, but of course the new calipers are surface rust pretty bad. So what I'm thinking about doing is actually painting these. It's kind of cheesy to paint stock brake calipers, but it might look kind of good. I've got a special color in mind for it too to give it a little pop. We'll see about that, but for now I'm going to go ahead and just knock off the rest of the dirt that I couldn't get out of here and go ahead and get that a coat of spray or two. I started to do it in some of these fender wells because I just kind of want to see what it looked like, and initially it was way too shiny and I didn't really like it, but after a nice coat of dirt, they look good. It looks more in tune with what the car should be instead of super shiny black and brand new looking. So that got painted. You can kind of see it in there. It doesn't look great shiny, but you'll see that more later on. What I decided to do is I do need to take off this power steering cooler line. Now my theory is I'm running a late models 90 power steering pump. I don't think these are necessary. On newer cars, or the newer Hondas in the late 90s didn't run those. The CR-V, all those other even larger cars didn't run those. So I don't know how necessarily important the power steering cooler is. So my original plan was to take this one off a CR-V. So the CR-V has the low pressure and just the high pressure to the rack for the power steering reservoir, and I was just going to do that. That way I can just delete all those lines, do all that. But looking at it, you got to plug the rack, you got to do some other stuff, and I'm not sure I feel comfortable doing that, and plus it's a lot of work. So what I did is I looked here at these joints, and there's goes into here, fluid goes through here, and the back to the bottom side to this other one. So what I did is I just popped that off and looped it right there. So it just loops back around. So there will be a little bit of flow still going through there, but it won't be all this mess up here. This stuff is very thick and very in the way of everything that I need to do up here. So I just looped it. So I'll tighten that up, see if that works or not, and then we'll kind of go from there. After I remove all this power steering cooling stuff, I'm going to go ahead and chop this. So I want to leave this mount point here just in case I need it for something. But what I'm going to do is just basically follow this line here, chop, 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 all the way straight down. I may round this out or do something with this, but I'm basically going to remove all that bottom lip there because that's just, it's super thin. It bends really well, really easy every time it gets hit, and that'll be one less thing in the way, so I can go ahead and build my new little bumper support bracket stable. I don't know what it's called. All right, all the power steering stuff's off. I cut off that lower lip. And this kind of gives you the most complete look of what it's going to eventually be like. Yo, it's mounted. Like that's actually the final resting spot. Like the bolts are in. Yes, I had a lot of progress. So yesterday when I left off the video, I really didn't know where I wanted to go. Like I knew I had a bunch of stuff to do and how to get it all together, but I wasn't sure where to start. I kind of had my head hung up on that bar that I was going to build, but then I started thinking, I was like, I can't build that bar until I know where the Supercharger is going to be mounted. So I spent all day making a snazzy bracket to adapt the AC factory mount to the Supercharger, and I'll show you how I got there in just a second. This is some of the 1/4 inch steel that I had laying around for the rock sliders I'm building, which I know it's been a year since I messed with them, but they're at my buddy's shop and I just hadn't had a chance to go over there and work on it. So what I did is I laid out the 2 different brackets and I marked out their hole locations on both of them, having to know which one's the front, which one's the back. And when I did that, I went out and traced this out on the steel that I had over there, cut it out, and then I really started playing with how it all goes. Let me go ahead and pull the Supercharger off, and then I'll be able to show you guys a little bit more of how I did it. So with all this apart, you can kind of see where we're at here. You can see the marks there, where that is. Lay is flat there, you can see the X's and those cutouts there. It's just all really keeping track of what side's what's up and what's down. So the piece of steel was originally, that size. And I trimmed it up to this nice, funky, weird, oblong amoeba shape. And I actually still trim out some more, and I may eventually do that. But for right now, this is going to be just fine. I actually am probably going to add a little bit of more of a tab over this side, get one more bolt. That way I have 3 out of 4 bolts. I know it's not exactly the best, but it'll be better than 1 bolt. I'll just say leave it at that. So I do have it, so all 4 of these bolts can bolt to the bracket. And of course, the bracket itself will bolt onto the block in those 4 locations. Another thing I was having to take good care of, make sure it's squared up, was make sure this pulley was squared up with the pulley on the Supercharger. That all worked out well. But yeah, this plate, I'm proud of how it turned out. It's just easy peasy, just chop up. Took a lot of pieces to cut off of it, but it all got together. I got a little hot and melted that. A lot of chopping, a lot of grinding. You can see this nice fine layer of crap everywhere. But after some work, it's good. That's what my plate's gonna look like. It's, like I said, it's not the most pretty thing in the world, but it is super strong and it's not gonna go anywhere. So, with that being said, that gives me all that taken care of. Now, what I want to do, since I know where the Supercharger is going to sit, I'm going to go ahead and put it back in there. That way I know where it needs to be level. And with that being said, I think my plan going forward, so it's going to be a little bit back here. I'll still run the brackets here and extend them out a little bit so they actually reach there. And that'll give me a good base. And this will actually be the bottom side that mounts. I'll drill holes in that and I'll actually mount those in there so that the intercooler will rest on that. And also I'll have to build brackets down to mount the radiator onto it as well. But I think that's going to be choice. And I got some ideas. You see how that's got that cut like that? I think what I'm going to do is kind of like something like that, and then just fill those in at the end maybe. Need to lower that. Like I said, I'll have to kind of go back and look at how the Supercharger is going to mount. But while I have the Supercharger out of the way, you saw here how the Supercharger sits here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to order a plate, an exhaust flange kit, and make my own header. So it goes around there and goes out the factory location, kind of like I talked about earlier. But that'll clear that up and that'll be out of the way. And that won't be really hard. Plus it'll get rid of this old nasty stock manifold. So yeah, there's a lot of progress been made, but I really didn't have a chance to do a whole lot of video yesterday because I wasn't really sure the direction I want to go. But now that I have more of a clear direction, I don't mind doing this. So that's where we're at. Let's get started. All right, that's all done. So sorry for the lack of video of it all, the whole process, but once I kind of got into it, I just started rolling with it. And I went ahead and welded on the brackets, got those all cleaned up, straightened up, kind of rounded the edges. I know that didn't look tremendously level on camera, but it all the measurements work on the wagon, and it looks good. So let me go ahead and bolt it back up and show you guys what it looks like on the wagon, but I just want to say I'm super stoked about this. And I gotta thank the welder, and finally, guess who got the world's smallest welding bottle? C25. That's what I've been wanting to have forever. I finally got it all routed, plumbed and stuff, and man, it makes a world of difference. I'm still using flux wire, but I mean, I can still run it a little bit. It's just gonna be a little spattery, which you can see some of the spatters left over there. But for the most part, man, it's doing well. They both look pretty well. Knocked all the slag and crap off of them, and they turned out real good. I am super excited. Again, apologize for not showing the whole entire process, but you guys know how to cut up metal and weld, so no need to bore you. Time to mount this bad boy on there. And there she is. That's all mounted up. I like it. I can stand on it. It's good to go. It's give the old stand test like everybody does when they weld something. What I just noticed is I was looking at how far this stuck out compared to that side, and that's one dimension I didn't take, but that's easily fixable. So I measured from the back to the front of here, and that's exactly 2 inches, which is what I planned on here. But over here is 2.5 inches. So like I said, that's easy to fixable. What I'm gonna do is I'll take those nuts or those bolts out, I'll slot them, be able to push that back and even that back up to 2.5 or 2 inches there and 2 inches there. So that was the only dimension that I messed up, but everything else nice and level, nice and happy. So if you see here with the intercooler out of the way, you can see how the supercharger will mount. That's exactly where it'll be. It's not bolted in yet, but that's completely setting in place. I do have to get some longer, better bolts for this, and I'm going to do some standoffs to support that a little better, but this is just the mock-up. Yeah, that works. That works really, really, really well. Oops. And you'll also see, so that's how the header is going to have to clear. So like I said, all the runners are going to have to go around over here, and I have an intake pipe that'll come off of here, which is, it's going to be pretty hard to route, but once we get going with that, it won't be too hard. It's just a matter of fabricating it all up. There's a little bit more trimming I'm going to have to do here in order to clear the coupler and all that stuff for over here, but that's not a problem. I don't feel as bad cutting this away now that I have this support here, because that draws a lot more support there. One thing I was thinking about doing is, this is still pretty flimsy, and this is where the hood still latches. What I'd like to do is rebuild this out of aluminum and just have a one-off kind of neater, cleaner piece, because I don't know, I'd like to redo that because it has this giant hole here and it sits tight up against here. I could kind of design it however I wanted to and add an extra bolt hole here, add rigidity, and then maybe make a back connection to this or something, I don't know. Either way, I need to make this a little bit more rigid from here to here, and I'll do the strut tower brace as well eventually. But this right here, this is going to help out tremendously. I'm really happy with that. It's super strong, super good to go. So I'm going to go ahead and call it for tonight, but that's good progress. I feel really happy with where I got to today. Sorry again for not showing the whole process of just digging through and cutting up stuff, but when I get in a roll, like, I don't want to stop and be like, oh, here's me chopping this off and here's me welding this. I just kind of want to keep going. I hope you understand. Well, I'm going to go ahead and wrap the video up there, guys. I was kind of in a roll and I was getting a lot of stuff done, but I want to stop here because my intercooler piping will actually be here tomorrow. I did get the hardware that I need to go ahead and put the supercharger on the bracket. I've got kind of everything taken apart again and not mounted because I wanted to get some measurements taken care of. And with the intercooler piping coming here tomorrow, I can do a little bit more final fitment of how everything's going to go. The bar is doing good. It's good and super strong. Probably lift the front end of the wagon because those mounting plates are actually where the factory tow hooks were, so it's a good strong mount. Gives it more rigidity back and forth across the front, which is something I've been wanting for a while. Next projects though, I've got a whole laundry list of stuff over there I need to put on the actual wagon. But for now, I'm going to call it. This is going to be part one of many. It's going to be quite a few videos, just kind of sitting around piddling and working on the wagon because, man, we get some free time. So that's excellent news for me and excellent news for you who's going to be watching, because I need your sweet views and subscribes and likes and shares and all the please help. I'm so hungry. Anyway, guys, I'll catch you guys soon. Peace.